Yeah, should be especially wide in selection and quite prominent in this community, I guess. So. Darren, we moved had to move the PTASC meeting again. Okay. It's on the door, June 28th or something like that.
Good evening, everyone. I acknowledge the Sianu and Suk First Nations on the homelands we work. This acknowledgement is one small part of supporting Indigenous communities as we continue to listen, learn, and support truth and reconciliation. Welcome to the Finance meeting of June 3rd, 2024. Please be sure to have your cell phones turned off during the meeting. There'll be two meetings this evening. The Finance meeting will be first, followed by the Council meeting, and each will have public participation. Committee, we have an agenda before you. Are there any additions or changes to this agenda? Moved by Mayor Little, seconded by Councillor Gray. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. We have no presentations, but we do have public participation. Is there anyone in the community that would like to speak at the mic? If so, please state your name and the street in which you live.
Jim McPherson, Eagle Tree Place. My wife and I have lived in Metchosin since 1999. Our first tax bill after we moved into the house was for $2,646. The tax bill crossed the $3,000 threshold in 2001, but except for 2 exceptional years, it took another 20 years until 2020 for the tax bill to exceed $4,000. Over the last 2 years, our tax bill has increased by over $1,100 to approximately $5,500 this year. I recognize that calculating a tax bill is a complicated process and that the tax bill reflects assessment and has to account for many variables such as inflation. Nevertheless, I want to highlight the relative tax stability over the 2005-2022 period. That was a period when much attention, some say too much, was paid to road paving. New subdivisions were opened up, for example, Ash Mountain. New equipment purchased by the fire department, and the old school was purchased. Clearly, things happened, and they happened within a philosophy of fiscal responsibility, refusal to go into debt, and generally minimal increases in residential property taxes. One can disagree over the priorities that were set. Some things not done probably should have been done, and I think we all could have afforded a bit more tax in order to avoid what came later. My point is that major expenditures were paced to reflect revenues. If you stand back, it's remarkable how little Metchosin has changed in the last 20 or 25 years. What has changed, particularly during the past 2 years, has been the abandonment, as far as I can see, of fiscal prudence and minimal tax increases amid a flurry of priority actions that just have to be done and done now. A year or so ago, Council went through a strategic planning exercise with the results made public. I see no signs, however, that results of that strategic planning were applied to this budget. Instead, it seems individual promises and pet projects were collected into a package for immediate action. And the province, of course, gave lots of enticements. It doled out grant money by the boatload. Most grant money represents a cost-shared approach, and the municipality grasped at the opportunity to get in on the gravy train of studies, plans, and projects that could have been done at half the price, except that we have to pay for the other half. What I would ask council is that you severely restrict and curb the unsustainable tax increases of the past 2 budget years, learn to pace expenditures in accordance with revenues, and if possible, try to return to some years of tax stability. I would also like to comment on the municipal tax statement we all received this past week. The statement shows 9 entities under other taxing authorities. 8 of these authorities have legal underpinnings. The 9th item, police tax, is not an independent taxing authority. It is part and parcel of the municipality's tax bill and should be included under municipal taxes. Reiterating once again, municipal taxes have increased this year not by 7.1%, but by 9.8%. To show police tax as an other taxing authority is bizarre. Some have used much, much stronger language. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have comments this evening? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the adoption of minutes. Page 3. This is the adoption of the Finance Committee meeting of May 6, 2024.
Move adoption.
Moved by Councillor Shukin, second by Councillor Epp. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And on page 7, Special Finance Committee meeting of May 27th.
Move adoption.
Moved by Councillor Epp, second by Councillor Shukin. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And receipt of the minutes of page 11 for the Agriculture Advisory Select Committee of May 15th. Move to receive by Mayor Lillo, second by Councillor Shukin. Any questions? Councillor Gray.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. I'm just wondering, I'm seeing on item 7A, the Peninsula Area Agricultural Commission, who we fund, is lobbying for more housing on farmland. What would that be about?
That came as part of the report for the Peninsula Agricultural what's the acronym for it? Committee. I'm not sure why they're asking for a third house. It's not something that I understand either.
Okay.
So I can look into that for you.
Yeah, that'd be great. I think just given our situation, it may be solely related to the peninsula, but housing on farmland is somewhat limited through the Agricultural Land Commission and other things, but I wonder what they're up to. The second one I wondered about is a reference under 8A, agritourism. And just I'm curious, tent pads, et cetera, could be coordinated through the main farm. Is this the idea of having tent pads at farms separate from the, I guess this is in relation to Keating Farm and Bilston Creek Farm. Is it the idea of putting tent pads in different farms, like at short-term vacation rentals?
Similar to that, yes. Bilston Creek Farm has that now. They're much smaller than the yurts. They're the canvas tents.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. People call that glamping. But apparently that is allowed in the agritourism. Very little.
Yeah, I think with item number 7A, the PAC was concerned that Senate Council had allowed Gila Farms to use agricultural land for storing of vehicles. And they thought better that the land could be used for additional residences for farm workers. I think that's where it came from. So, anyways.
And although Robin had given that report with the addition of the PAC is lobbying for more housing on ALR.
Okay.
So I'm not sure what those changes are. I only remember the reporting from Ms. Zimmerman when she presented to council. So this might be something that Councillor Shaken.
As much as you're aware, Councillor Donaldson, has the membership in PAC been settled? Because we had nominated Kathleen Zimmerman, and I don't know whether she's on the board yet, or on the committee yet. Are you
So
aware?
I'll defer that to Mary. She was following up with
Yeah,
that.
I don't know. I don't know whether that has all been settled. It was like a board review that was forwarded by Central Saanich. They wanted sort of like a board review or a committee review of their terms of reference. So I'll find out and I'll bring an update.
Correct.
Thank you. Councillor Ray.
And maybe we could just ask when we pick up the short-term vacation rental topic, which we will around the table here, we could also pick up this question of short-term vacation rentals, I guess under the Agricultural Land Commission, just so we understand what's going on. Thanks.
Good point. Any other comments? Okay, so mover and a seconder. Call the question. All in favor? Thank you. Okay, then we'll move on to business arising. Page 15, grant and aid. And thank you everyone for your input on helping to decipher where we could allocate these monies. Are there any questions as to what you see on your list here? Councillor Schuster.
Thank you, Councillor Donaldson. I have to say I fully agree with the recommendations you've made in terms of the proposed grant amounts. That was fully within the thinking that I had even before I saw this. And if I welcome further discussion, but I'm happy to make a motion to support this. So.
Okay, so moved by Councillor Schuster.
Sorry, unless there's further discussion,
Okay.
but I will.
Well, it's open up for discussion.
Okay, yeah.
So moved by Councillor Schuken.
Sure.
Seconded by Councillor Gray. Discussion? Any input?
I'll jump in and say that I appreciate the work you've done getting it together. I think it worked. Councillor Epp said let's get all the information together, and I like what I see too here. I think it reflects well in terms of the priorities that we might set. And I look forward to next year maybe having a bit more on the criteria side, and we talked about that. But thanks for the effort on this.
Okay, so so the recommendation is that the committee makes the recommendations to council on the following proposed funding, and we all agree, so I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And then my councillor's report. So I've had a busy weekend. I was in Pender Island this morning, actually overnight. So I arrived home this afternoon, quickly put my notes together for this report. I'm the vice chair of the Island Links Library Board, which is comprised of Alert Bay, Powell River, I think it's Pender Island is our new member, Salt Spring Island, and then Great Victoria Public Library. And I'm there as a trustee, as well as our CAO is one of the members. So there's 5 voting members. So this last year I was the vice chair, and as of this morning I am now the chair going forward for the next year. The Island Links group they're very small libraries, very interesting on how they all operate, somewhat isolated, but the Island Links brings them together. So it's quite a dynamic group. They have lots of information and ideas, things that they're sharing, relying on each other, things that work and things that don't work. One of the common things that came out of this morning's meeting, which is something we've faced in all of our communities, and that is the mental health and wellness, which is a societal crisis that we're all facing. And these are frontline people. A lot of people are going to libraries for cooling stations, for places that are safe to sleep, as is with our central branch. We've actually hired security in our central branch. But there's a strain on the staff, and they're struggling with how do they deal with the mental health stuff. So we did some brainstorming on that this morning. on how we can go forward with that, sharing some ideas that we've done here locally, both in our communities and in different municipalities and the library. And so there's a lot of sharing and caring that goes on in this group, so that they're not feeling so isolated. They pool their resources together too, so they have a better buying power for when they're getting resources to outfit their libraries. Same with accessibility. They don't have the funds always to do that, so I will be, with the Pender Island one, I'll be putting them in touch with some of the individuals from Access West Shore that do consulting, and some grants that they could probably access as well for their, they have 2 employees. And so they're pretty tight on what they can do. Some other things that came about, we had 2 presentations. One was a representative from the Public Library branch of the BC Municipal Affairs. So they were able to share all these things with them, so this can go back up to the government with the federations as to, is there funding available, how do we support staff, that sort of thing. So Adrienne Wass is our representative. She actually lives in Souk, so good person for us to sort of tap into as well. There was a presentation from a local islander in Pender Island who gave a presentation on governance as leadership, and with the idea that leading with your strengths and with your team's support and strengths, as well as respecting the organization structure, which reminds me of what we've talked about with our strategic plan, and how we're trying our best to have open governance and following that model. With the agriculture portfolio that I have, I did 2 articles on roadside stands, being that they are a style of home-based business, but mostly to help people understand how to set up a roadside stand, where to put it, so that it's safe, so that it's attractive, because when you're setting up a business, there's location is everything, but within the municipality, we have a land use bylaw that actually has this. So in my second article, I specifically did not put in the link like I did the first one, but in the second one, I actually wrote out the whole bylaw that we, so people could actually see, I think there's like 5 points of how to set up a roadside stand, and as well as the sun bylaw that goes with that. So hopefully we'll see some more success with that, so people understand that boulevards are not the place for roadside stands, and on the properties they are, and where people park, that sort of thing. So it's pretty clear. And then there were some pictures of some roadside stands. And so I'll follow up with a few more features on some successful businesses, because it is one of those attractions that is another part of our agriculture in Metchosin. With the West Shore Parks and Recreation, we had a presentation from the City of Colwood's climate planner, and she presented gave us a presentation, but also was coming to us to ask about a community building retrofit grant funding from FCM, and it is a matching grant as well. So we're waiting to see what happens with that. There's some equipment replacement and building renovations that will come to in the future, but trying to get the emissions down. Right now, West Shore Parks and Rec contributes 35% emissions just from the equipment they do have. And so we're hoping to hear more about that. And then I've been having a lot of fun actually with the MISC group, which is the Metchosin Invasive Species Cooperative, who are always looking for volunteers. They have a website, and their mandate is to work to restore local ecosystems. So there are monthly work parties, and the next one, which is coming up, is November 8th. And it's UVic's Make a Difference Week from 2 to 4 at Westmont parking lot, so if anybody's interested, let me know, or go to the website and check it out. So that's all I have. There's no correspondence, no bylaws or other business, so I'll ask for adjournment.
Council?
Sorry?
Sorry, just through the chair to the committee, we're going to be asking for council to ratify the grant aid recommendations this evening at the council meeting, just to let the committee know.
Okay, thank you. Do you need anything more from the committee? No. Councillor Ray?
I wonder if tonight's finance meeting, I just wanted to mention something about finances. But first of all, congratulations on your position as chair of Island Links. I mentioned it I guess it was last week, the CRD Water Supply Master Plan. There's a consultation now available for the public to weigh in on, and just to mention it tonight because there's a lot of money involved. It's the there's a decision coming about how much new development will pay for the new infrastructure in the master plan. The overall cost is over $2 billion. Staff today Ms. Hanson put up on our website a link to that so people can look at the news and updates there and find that, or go directly to the CRD website. And there's some information about how the plans work, the plan itself rather, and then how development cost charges work, and how something called municipal assist factor works. All that's laid out there, and it's just a collecting of public views on the situation. And the general idea that the CRD has had is that with new development, the people who benefit will pay. So the idea is that the thought behind development cost charges is existing people would pay for what would improve the existing system, but if there's new infrastructure required for new people joining the water system, that would perhaps best be paid by the new people, the people who would benefit. So when you look at that, you'll see the municipal assist factor is, we're saying existing users would only pay like 1% of the charges, and the development cost charges, they're different depending on the view of the people who put together the paper. But the one to look at, from my perspective, is the cost of the filtration plant, which is about $1 billion of the $2 billion, and it's largely required because we're going to open up the Leach watershed, and the water coming down there needs to be filtered. And so when you look at it, you can look at the numbers and see what you think and provide comment. That would be great if people would do that.
Thank you for that. I did actually print off the media release for that, so pleased to hear it's going to be on our website, and that survey is open till July 5th. And there's also a webinar, I believe. CRD is hosting a virtual information session for the development community. I don't know if that's open just to June 20th from 2:30 till 4. So that's all on our website. So thanks for flagging that. I appreciate it.
Great. And then the only other thing, just we heard from Jim McPherson today about the tax brief, and I agree with him. It's a bit could be a little bit better done, but it's a big shift now. We're shifting from not having the police in our tax to having the police in the tax. So, if I may, it's kind of understandable. It's not quite there yet, but I think next year we should probably look at that a little bit closer and tie it together, just so it's clear for everybody. But I'm glad to have the notices out and everybody knows what their taxes are, but it's just a bit confusing, that one aspect. So we'll look at that through the year, I hope.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments before we adjourn? Okay, can I have a move to adjourn the finance meeting, please?
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Gray, second by Councillor Shukin. All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
You were on Pender Island? Pender Island? We're traveling. Doctors will do that to you.
It's only like a 45-minute ferry, but there's lots to do. It's very rural.
So,
Yeah, cool.
Lots of cyclists and paths.
Oh, okay, cool.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the council meeting of June 3rd, 2024. Thank you, Councillor Donaldson, for the territorial acknowledgement. We've got 2 items to add to the agenda this evening. We've got under new business, the 2024 Roads and Street Maintenance Program to add to 13A, as well as business arising from the finance meeting, the grant and aid, which will add to item 7B. Okay, with that, I'll take a motion to adopt the agenda as
Motion to
amended.
adopt.
Moved by Councillor Donaldson, seconded by Councillor Schuken. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. We don't have any presentations. We have some time for public participation. Does anybody would like to speak at the microphone? You have 4 minutes. If you could state your name and your street, that would be great.
Richard Simpson, I'm a resident of 1287 Boulder Path off of Neil Road, and I also was a member of the Bufferland Working Group. I want to state that I fully support the council and the diverse challenges you have to consider in looking out for all Metchosin residents. I support protection of the bufferland as a natural environmentally sensitive area. However, as a result of the council meeting last week, my personal position on the recommendations advanced by the Bufferland Working Group have shifted, or at least are shifting. This is primarily because I think the working group's recommendation have paralyzed council's ability to make any movement forward. Let me explain. First, last week council decided to review the working group's report again, a report which they've had in hand for 6 months and has already had a number of fulsome discussions on the report, including at the May 13th community planning meeting. Is another discussion on the report helpful? Second, last week council rejected a recommendation to engage in discussions with the CRD or any other organization. Council of Metchosin residents may not support a sale or collaboration with a CRD or other organization. In the end, I personally may not support such a collaboration, but I do support any information gathering which will fully inform our final decision making. After last week's council meeting, I looked over the CRD Regional Parks and Trails 10-year strategic plan, and their values and priorities clearly align with the Bufferland working groups. Is there helpful information to be gained by talking to them? Talking to the CRD or anyone else doesn't set a direction or limit our choices. Third, and finally, although I thought that the CAO's report to council on the Bufferland lacked detail, council didn't ask the CAO for more detail and instead directed that no further work be done by staff at this time. I'm not sure why council would have asked. I'm not sure why council wouldn't have asked for more analysis to be done by staff to provide a more of a detailed rationale explaining why Metchosin can't manage the bufferland alone. I do hope that when council addresses the bufferland issue next, they move beyond discussion and approve specific next steps. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to speak at the microphone? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the meeting. Thank you. We have the adoption of the minutes on page 3 of your council agenda. This is the meeting from May 27th.
Move adoption, but a quick word if I could, if there's a second.
Moved by Councillor Schuken, seconded by Councillor Gray. Go ahead, Councillor Schuken.
Oh, thank you very much. And of course, as Mr. Simpson is saying, this is the meeting where we talked about the bufferland. And again, I said at that meeting that I agreed that the working group's efforts hadn't really been dug into. I should let the council know that I have had some brief discussions with staff about when that subsequent meeting is, because that's what we talked about. And again, hearing what Mr. Simpson has said, I would like to have, I'm already planning on doing this, but having further discussions with staff about what we can do at that meeting that's going to be productive for us. And so I think it is going to, yeah, and likely some more work needs to be done to flesh and give us something more concrete to assess and weigh in terms of options. So, yeah.
Okay.
But thanks. I think those are really great comments.
Okay, great. Anybody else have any comments regarding the May 27th minutes? Not, I'll call a question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. So we have the Special Finance Committee meeting minutes from May 27th on page 11. Councillor Johnson, move for receipt. Seconded by Councillor Eck. Comment? None? All in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you. My mayor's report, verbal report. Today was the opening of the Matrosen Pharmacy. The ribbon cutting was at 11 a.m. It was a really nice event. Congratulations to Shadi Garris and his partner Irene, who have opened the Matrosen Pharmacy. They've got many services that are going to be offered. He's very excited to be in the community. They have virtual doctor on site, pharmacist home visits, free prescription delivery, blister packing, vaccinations, compounding pharmacy, smoking cessation, tools, lots of information, and he's very, very happy to be in our community. So they're welcoming the community all week to have a piece of cake. So please drop by the pharmacy, and thanks to the councillors who were able to make it today. That's it for my mayor's update. Moving to page 15, business arising. Councillor Donaldson, this is the Special Finance Committee recommendations of May 27th.
Yes, excuse me. I'd like to make a motion in regards to the 2024 reserve balances, that the optimum levels of the following reserves be changed as follows. Building replacement reserve increased to $4 million. Recreation stabilization reserve increased to $2 million. Revenue shortfall reserve increased to $500,000. And that the following amounts be transferred to or from the specific reserves below. And I won't list all of them unless you want me to.
That's fine.
In a total of $506,494.
Okay. This is moved by Councillor Donaldson, seconded by Councillor Shukin. Any comments? It was great to see Mr. Weller out to that meeting, and we have healthy reserves, and I really appreciate his acumen and his education and experience, and we will miss it later on today later on this year as he retires. So
Yes.
it was really great to see him.
Yes, it was.
Okay, anybody else? If not, thank you for that. I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? That's unanimous. So the addition is the business arising from the meeting earlier this evening on June 3rd. This is the grant and aid requests. I'm just going to read them. That council, or actually, if you could do that, that'd be great. So this is the, oh no, you don't have it. I've got it. Never mind. I will do it. The Access West Shore Society, $250. Crisis Intervention and Public Information Society of Greater Victoria, Need to Suicide Prevention, Education and Support, $1,300. Wanafuka Lacrosse Association, $900. Wanafuka Performing Arts Center Society, $300. Princess Edward Pacific No. 9 T1 branch, the Royal Canadian Legion, $350. Reimagine West Shore, $320. South Vancouver Island Farmers Institute, $500, and Wildlife, $1,080. The total allocated budget amount was $5,000. With that, I'll take a motion to approve this.
Move to approve.
Moved by Councillor Donaldson, seconded by Councillor Eck. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We've got reports to council on page 17. It's with great pleasure the 2023 District of Matrosen Annual Report is included in the council package along with recommendations. I would like to congratulate Ms. Hanson. The annual report gets better and better every year. All you have to do is look before 2022 at the annual reports, and you can see this remarkable difference between the 2023 report and the 2022 report and others. So we're meeting required legislation and going beyond. So with that, I want to thank Ms. Hanson for all her efforts. Any comments? Yeah, go ahead.
I actually have quite a few comments.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
Just some things that I had seen. Really enjoyed reading this whole package. I was looking forward to it after last year's nice colorful layout, and knowing that Ms. Hanson was going to do even that much more, because she is very conscientious of her work and pulls things together, keeps us we're all organized. Clearly she's done the same and has gone above and beyond. There were, it is great to see the whole year in review, but where we want to go in the future, and how we listen to our community as well, and how and that's been instituted in our strategic plans and in our finances, trying to meet the needs of the community and finding that balance. There were a couple of things that I did pick up on, if you could bear with me. One was there was some highlights from the Agricultural Committee. The one thing that was missing was the AVIC farm tour that we did, that we hosted.
Yeah.
We have a photo, but there's no write-up in there, so I'd be happy to help with that. So that was one of the things that I noticed. Oh, and on page 4950, at the very bottom, we have the waves. The color's missing. It's just probably something to do with the printer, I don't know. And then on page 57, I think that was the transportation, where it talks about annual mowing, patch, crack sealing, that sort of thing. Those are, and I don't know if it matters or not, but those aren't what our staff do. Those are contracted out services. If we just want to mention that we actually contract those as well, because we do have contractors, both in-house and, well, in each of our departments we probably do as well.
Okay. Any other comments, Councillor Donaldson?
No, that's all I have right now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Epp, then Councillor Shuken.
I just had a couple on page 45. Just somewhere. Just a couple of changes, which I spoke to Ms. Hanson earlier today. That was for the school working group. There was just a couple of changes there. And on page 69, the RCMP, where it mentions that it reports to 5 municipalities, it also reports to the Songhees and Esquimalt First Nations. So Ms. Hanson's going to add those.
Okay, great catch. Councillor Shuken.
Congratulations to Ms. Hanson and the team that put this together. I have just a very few little typos that I'll pass on to Ms. Hanson, but overall, wonderful.
Okay.
So, and the blend of, so it's a 2023 report, but the blend of adding the 2024 stuff I thought was really good. So, yeah, great.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, Councillor Gray and then Councillor Epp.
Sure, just my thanks to the staff for putting this together, and Ms. Hanson particularly. The one thing that I wondered about, this is for 2023, and you know, it's pretty impressive in terms of the amount of things that we did and laid out here. And a lot of that was done under the leadership of Sue Lynn-Tarnowski, our interim CAO, and I thought it would be appropriate that she be mentioned in the report, given that she was the CAO through the entire year. Thank you.
Just I intended to say how great it looks, a level of pictures and the whole layout. It really is a really impressive document, so thank you.
Okay, so with that, we've got some recommendations there. Does anybody want to move that and read them out? I'll read them. Okay, go ahead, Councillor Gray.
Well, Cynthia, I would move that we're meant to bring this forward to our next meeting, is it?
Actually, what I'll do is I'll read that council directs staff to make available for public inspection the District of the Chosen 2023 annual report in accordance with Section 97 of the Community Charter, and to schedule an annual meeting regarding the 2023 annual report at the regular meeting June 17th, in accordance with Section 99 of the Community Charter, and to publish notice of the annual meeting in accordance with Section 94 of the Community Charter. Okay? Okay.
I'll second that.
So I will move that, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Gray. Any comments? No? Call the question. All in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. And on page 113, we have the CRD bylaw and animal care services report for information. So we are spending money on bylaw and bylaw enforcement. Do I have a motion to receive for information? Moved by Councillor Donaldson, seconded by Councillor Epp. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And we have correspondence for action on page 119. We have a letter from Harlan Bird regarding free transit for youth and seniors, youth 18 and under. We have already sent a letter to the Victoria Transit Commission, I think, BC Transit, to ask for free transit for youth. It didn't include seniors, though. This is a specific ask for seniors and for youth. Does anybody have any opinions on this?
Yeah, I'm prepared to make the motion. I think that we should proceed with both of the topics here, one about free transit for youth and the other for seniors. Do you want we could start with the youth one? That's where we began. We did write a letter to BC Transit, and it was about reducing costs for young people. This goes a little bit further, and it's directed to the province. So this would be for a UBCM resolution. And I've heard from a number of colleagues in other councils, namely Saanich and Langford, but I understand that motions are coming forward in Saanich, Langford, View Royal, and Oak Bay. Similar motions. Whether they'll pass or not, I'm not sure. But the idea, I think, is that many of us are thinking the same thing about, for youth particularly, developing habits of taking transit. It reaches beyond Metchosin, of course. We have our own youth, but then youth that are served by transit. Increase ridership, decrease barriers, and develop habits of living in transit. And for me, it lines up very well with our climate-friendly transition. Greenhouse gas emissions, of course, from transportation are a big contribution to the problem. So we get more people riding the buses, that would be great.
Okay, so this is a letter to Saanich Council saying that we support their resolution to UBCM. Is that what it is?
Or we can pass the same resolution so that we would have at UBCM, Saanich and ourselves and whoever else passes the motion would be sponsors of the motion of the day. I believe Saanich is prepared to carry it forward, though, for all of us who agree on, who come on board.
Sure. Okay. So this would go forward as a resolution. This is moved by Councillor Gray. Councillor Epp, did you want to second that motion?
I'll second it for discussion.
Yeah. Seconded by Councillor Epp. Did you want to motivate Councillor Gray?
Sure. So you can see the motion so dealing with the youth one first, it's on page 127. And I guess I've already laid out why I would think to proceed, but there's some whereases I could read out if you like. That the council requests the UBCM lobby the provincial government to expand the Get On Board program to include all youth up to age 18 as follows. Whereas the Get On Board program allows children aged 12 and under to ride all BC Transit and TransLink transit services free of charge. And this program saves families money while offering youth low carbon transportation that helps the province and municipalities reach emissions and transportation mode share targets. And whereas encouraging young people to use public transportation early in life can lead to lifelong habits of sustainable transportation use. And this is in turn can have long-term benefits for cities in terms of reduced congestion, lower emissions, and increased social inclusion. Therefore, be it resolved that UBCM lobby the provincial government to expand the Get On Board program to include all youth up to the age of 18. So that's the motion itself, and I guess what we're talking about here is moving in terms of our climate declaration and climate plan to move forward with that. There are costs associated with this, of course, but what we know is that the provincial government spends an awful lot of money on highway and highway expansion and highway improvements, and we're wanting to move things such that we're less personal vehicle oriented and more public transit oriented. Those monies sit separate budgets and things, but the idea is asking the province really to reallocate monies, and it would fit with what the province put forward in terms of reducing vehicle kilometers traveled, the goals that they have. So I think it fits together nicely.
Councillor Cook.
Oh, I do agree with the youth up to 18. I think it's a real safety factor that kids be able to hop on a bus if they need it. I can't say I necessarily agree with the seniors. I think transit's very expensive. And we pay a lot for it in Metchosin, even though we don't have great transit service here. And I don't think it would really help that much any of our seniors in Metchosin. It's pretty hard to go and bring home, 4 bags of groceries on the bus. I think in town it does, but I think cost-wise, I say I would agree with the youth, but not the seniors.
Okay, so the motion that was put forward is only for young people in BC, for those under the age 18. Does anybody else wish to comment? Go ahead.
I don't use the bus system, and I'm not a senior yet, so I have no idea what it would cost a senior. Do we have any idea what those?
$5 for the day.
So what is the monthly charge? Because I know you can get passes. Downtown people use this all the time, so I don't know. We could have that information.
Well, I would like to see the resolution pass it at UBCM, because there are those students that it's really, it's a real safety issue, as Councillor Epp says, late at night walking along the roads instead of taking the bus. And so I think this would be a great thing if it was to pass. Anybody else wish to speak? No? Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay. Next we have correspondence for information.
Excuse me, maybe I'll just make the motion then about the seniors.
Okay, sure.
So that council adopt the following UBCM resolution. Whereas transportation costs can serve as a significant barrier to mobility for many British Columbian seniors, and this barrier can contribute to social isolation and adversely affect mental and physical well-being. And whereas removing barriers to seniors using transit encourages a shift towards more sustainable transportation, helping lower emissions and reducing congestion, while simultaneously increasing affordability, access to essential services, social inclusion, health, and well-being. Therefore, be it resolved that UBCM lobby the provincial government to make all public transit free for seniors aged 65 or older. And I suppose, so if there's a seconder, I'd say another word, but not much.
I'll second for discussion.
Yeah, go ahead. So moved by Councillor Gray, seconded by Councillor Donaldson. Go ahead, Councillor Gray.
So I'm back at the same thing here, referencing our climate plan and wanting to move, it's called mode shift, moving people from vehicles over to buses. And as Councillor Epps pointing out, I think rightly so, this is not a big motion for Metchosin, or big action rather for Metchosin, as we don't have a big ridership and we don't have frequent and accessible buses. But it does make a big difference in terms of contributions to the CRD. And being part of the CRD, we're trying to get to the place of reducing GHG emissions. And so this would go one way to that. But then, as the motion says, increasing mobility, accessibility, and other things for seniors is a good idea, given many are on low incomes.
Councillor Donaldson, did you want to speak to this motion?
The point that Councillor Gray brings up about some of our seniors on low incomes, and I do know this from having it's been a while, but living in the city and what I do see in the city as well when I'm visiting there, a lot of seniors that are able to afford are usually driving the vehicles. They're not taking the buses. So I do see that is a part of our society that it would definitely benefit. Those are very condensed urban areas. Yeah, I think social inclusion, environment.
Okay. The reason why I was not all that interested in supporting the motion is because we have to have somebody to pay for the transit. So we've got anywhere from 18 now to 64 to pay for the transit. Anytime we have an increase in levies or in passes, the community's in an uproar. So we've got to have enough money to support the overall transit system as well. I'm more concerned about the youth. If we can get that passed with 18 and under, I think that would be great. Anything else, Councillor Schiffman?
And Mary Lou, I think along the same lines as you do, and I have to say I'm reluctant to weigh in on issues like this that are quite complicated. There is a revenue question here, and there is the potential, anytime you're offering a free service, it's going to be made up for elsewhere, or you're going to reduce service. I'm someone who basically grew up on a city transit bus in Calgary and paid every step of the way. I can see the benefits of providing free passes to youth, but I think there are limits in terms of how much that might extend. And again, there's potentially a question of rider fares increasing or service levels potentially being reduced. So I don't know, probably along your lines of thinking. So thank you.
Okay. Councillor Gray, then Councillor Donaldson.
Sure, just to respond, I think we know the cost of highway construction, for example, the Mackenzie interchange or the flyway over on the big highway. They're hellishly expensive improvements that are made to the highways. And as we know, it's you built it and they will come. We need to start changing our ways here. So at some point, we've got to get people into the bus systems. Maybe everybody thinks, well, it'll be next year, or maybe it'll be the year after. I guess what's going on here is that we have a group of people in a variety of municipalities. I named one of you, Royal Oak Bay, Sanchez and Langford, who are all looking at this, and Sanchez has gone ahead and passed the motions, as my understanding, with the notion if we move together, we can maybe get the province to make a move. But it's not about asking them to increase fares for other people. It's we're trying to get people onto transit. So the idea is, would you please pull the money from the highways and the other places to pay for this?
Mr. Donaldson.
Those are good points, but as to what Councillor Schuchan was saying, there is a transit levy. Every time you go to the gas station, there's an extra tax. I know this because when I go to Mill Bay, I don't pay that tax because they don't have transit. So those of us living in the urban cities or closer to them, we are paying. So it's downloaded to all of us to some degree. So I just wanted to make that point too. So that too could increase. There's different ways it seems to get filtered in. I'm not sure.
Okay, I think we've exhausted that. I'll call the question on the motion. All in favor? Councillor Gray, all opposed. Councillor Schuchan, F. Donaldson, Mayor Little opposed. Thank you. Okay, correspondence for action. We have on page 135, we have a letter from Minister Ralston acknowledging our correspondence regarding the Weed Control Act. Anyways, he's acknowledged this and says it's very important. Doesn't really make any promises, but acknowledges that the approach will require additional consideration and discussion. So I think we'll hold them to it. Go ahead.
So I'll move receipt. I think what this is just basically a letter saying they're not preparing to take any action, which is unfortunate given your letter, which I think is well written, Mayor Little. We've got a really desperate problem with invasive plants, and the idea that we can't move forward to limit their sale is unfortunate.
I don't know when the UBCM deadline is, but you might consider putting forward a resolution. I think there has been many resolutions at UBCM regarding invasive species, but anyways, you might want to consider that.
Yeah, we thank you very much for the suggestion. The due date is June 16th, so we can't make that one this year, and that's why the other motions were on the table tonight.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, so this is moved by Councillor Gray for receipt. Can I have a seconder, please? Second by Councillor Shukin. Questions? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And then we have the letter from Laurel Grimm, the Director of Corporate Affairs from Logan Lake, regarding public consumption of illegal substances. I think the province has already moved to reverse the earlier legislation and now restricting public consumption of illegal substances through their Public Consumption of Illegal Substance Act. So that's Bill 34. With that, I'll take a motion to receive.
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Shukin, seconded by Councillor Epp. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And then we have this addition to the agenda. This is from our CAO, who's away this week, Bob Payette, to council. This is the 2024 Roads and Street Maintenance Program. The recommendation is that the works for the 2024 capital patching be awarded to the lowest bidder, Capital City Paving, in the amount of $148,238 plus GST. The reason why we're seeing that this rather than it going directly through staff is because of the amount, according to our bylaw. Go ahead.
I'll move that recommendation.
Moved by Councillor Epp, seconded by Councillor Donaldson. Anybody else have any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And that's it. We don't have any bylaws, other business, question period. Does anybody want to ask any questions? It is before, it is only 5 to 8. That's remarkable. Okay, seeing no one has any questions, I'll call for an adjournment.
So
Moved
moved.
by Councillor Shukin, seconded by Councillor Donaldson. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
That might be a
Fire
modern,
Chief.
that might be a modern day
I think
record.
that's the record.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hmm.